Hey, what's up guys, it is Card Shuffler 99 here, and today we are going to be revealing Marc Spelmann's semi-final trick on Britain's Got Talent. He did a pretty cool magic trick on the show, so we're going to be piecing it together for you guys today. Now, don't forget to enter the June giveaway that we are running. All you have to do to enter is like this video, comment something down below, and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We're going to let you guys, our subscribers and our viewers, pick what we're going to give away for June. So all you have to do is comment that down below, and that could be your entry right there. But once again, you do have to subscribe and like the video. And make sure that you guys just keep up with the channel. We are going to post updates for the contest. It's going to end at the end of June. So once again, all you have to do to enter is like the video, comment something down below, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Last giveaway, we gave away 100 decks of cards for our 100,000 subscriber giveaway. This time, we're going to let you guys select what we're going to give away. That could be decks of cards, it could be gift cards, anything like that. Just feel free to comment that down below. But anyway, guys, let's get straight into it. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And anyway, let's get into the trick. So, before I get into it, I do want to make a disclaimer that I know Marc Spelmann's a great magician. I get it. You know, he has a great story. You know, everything that happened with his wife. It's incredible, right? And nobody's going to deny that. But I'm here today. If you guys don't feel comfortable learning how the trick is done, then please don't watch it. I'm not going to make you guys watch this video. But at the end of the day, these are magic tricks. These are tricks that are very commonly known in the magic community, and I'm just here to explain to you guys how the trick is done. Nothing against Marc Spelmann. You know, I think he has a really good shot at winning the show, actually. But yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way. But anyway, let's get straight into it. So he's going to start out the trick here, and he's going to have a couple books, and he's also, within those books, he's going to have a deck of cards, okay, and a bookmark. So he's going to start off the trick, and much of his performance is actually going to revolve around forcing cards. Now, the first thing he's going to do is a simple card force. Now, this is something that magicians do all the time. Now, he's going to do a version of this force, and what this force is basically where you're going to ask the spectator to cut the deck. So in this case, let's say they were to cut the deck right here, and you basically just cut the deck exactly where they say, and then you say, we're going to mark where you stopped, right like that. Now, this is the traditional force, and then later you go back and say, okay, hey, let's take a look at where you cut, and that's the card, right? Now, that right there is a card force, because what I did here was I have the card that I want to force on the top of the deck, and what I did was I said, I'm going to have you cut the deck, and we're going to mark it, right? And then later, we go back and we say, hey, do you remember you cut the deck? And this, you know, just thinking about when people say, oh, I cut the deck, they're going to automatically think that this is where they cut, but no, that's not where they cut. So you could see he does something very similar to this. What he's going to do is he's going to scroll down, and he says he's going to cut the deck, and he actually does cut the deck, and he's going to basically just hold a break, right? He's just holding a break, and then what he's going to do is he's going to give Simon the card on the bottom half. You notice after he cuts it, he's going to give them the card on the bottom half. This is actually the original top card, because if you think about it, when you cut the deck and then you give him this card on the bottom half, you're actually giving him the original top card. So he's forcing the card there. Now, what does this mean? That means the prediction he had in the envelope with the heart was already there, right? So that means he's going to force this. He already knows that he's going to force the last word. He's not exactly forcing, you know, the entire quote. He's not forcing the author of the quote. He's essentially only forcing the last word. He knew that, and he knew already before the trick started that that's exactly which card Simon would get, and he already knew from the beginning that he would be able to predict that. Now, the second part of the trick can be open to, I guess, speculation, if you want to say. Now, what I mean by this is that there's so many different ways he could go about doing this trick, and in a way that sort of diminishes the value of the trick in a way, because there's so many potential ways you could do it, right? Now, when it comes to just evaluating magic tricks, and something that, I've learned, especially when you reveal tricks, is that the harder it is and the less possible methods there are to doing it, the better the trick actually is. And especially with this trick, there's so many different things he could have done that would have yielded the same actual result, right? Like, for example, if I were to say, hey, you know, I'm going to predict a card and I'm going to force it, I'm going to do one of the thousands of card forces out there, that's not exactly a good trick, because there's so many possible ways I could do it, okay? What you want is something where people really can't narrow it down, right? But he wasn't exactly able to do that here. So what I mean by that is knowing that he had the picture on basically the screen, and he knew he was going to put Gandhi up on that board, and he knew the second one would be John Lennon on that board. And in fact, the camera actually went around and showed him actually putting John Lennon together. He already knew it would be John Lennon. And he already knew. I mean, obviously, he's not going to have 1,000 different possibilities. He's going to have two. He knows before the trick even started, he knew he was going to have Gandhi and he knew he was going to have John Lennon. So what does that mean? Just because he was, the way he staged his trick and the way he ordered the trick to the point where he actually set up his prediction prior to them revealing the actual name, that means he had to have forced it, because he's not going to set it up, say, hey, pick something random on the page and then reveal it, right? Because he already had John Lennon up there. So that means he needs to force John Lennon. He needs to force Gandhi, okay? So how is he going to do this? There's a couple ways he can go about doing this. One, and, you know, this is where, like, sort of the speculation can come into play. We don't know everything about the book. We don't know what kind of book he gave. What I mean by this is that he has two main options here. He can either force the name or he can force the page, okay? Now, this is what I mean by this. In the book, we aren't sure if, for example, because the book was just a big book of quotes, right? We don't know how the book sort of orders the quotes. They could be ordered by page in terms of, for example, who said it. So they could have a whole page on Gandhi, or they could have a whole page on, you know, say, human rights quotes, right? And they would have a bunch of different people on it. Now, this is where that, you know, sort of idea comes into play. Because what he's going to do is, if he were to force a page, he could have forced a page with all Gandhi quotes, okay? So he has an option here. He could either force a page with all Gandhi quotes, or he could have a page where essentially all the names, he knows which names are on there, and, you know, in a sense, it's going to sort of narrow it down, because you'll notice he's going to ask the judge to pick a name that they're familiar with. So if I had a bunch of names on that page that you had no idea who they were, and I told you, make sure you pick a name that you're familiar with, and then you saw a name such as Gandhi or John Lennon, you're probably going to pick that one because that's the only one you know. So, in a sense, he could basically force a section of the book in terms of the page number. There's so many different possibilities as to what he could have done here, right? He could have forced a page with, say, all Gandhi quotes. He could have forced a page, you know, that had a bunch of different names, but only one of them was, you know, recognizable, or only one of those people were famous, for example. You know, when it comes to famous quotes, there are famous quotes out there with names that you probably never even heard of. You know, in fact, some of these really big quotes that you guys probably know, you probably don't even know who said it, right? And even if I had told you the name of the person who had said that quote, you would probably, you know, say, I don't know who that is, right? And that's the crazy part, is that in that book, there's probably only so many people that they were familiar with, right? You have the famous people. You got Gandhi. You got John Lennon. But you're going to have people in that giant book, it was a thick book, that you don't know, right? And that's where, you know, he has the option to essentially say, hey, I can force this page, and even though there's so many different names on here, they're only going to know this name, right? Or if the entire page was Gandhi, it doesn't even matter. They only have one choice. They can only pick Gandhi because Gandhi's the only person on that page. But it seems random because the page was sort of selected randomly, right? Now that's where the idea comes into play. But once again, you know, you have to think about this trick logically. Because he had the video already pre-recorded and ready to go on that screen with his daughter saying Gandhi on it, and the fact that he already had the picture, the painting, or whatever you want to call it, of Gandhi on stage, and then he also, after he did Gandhi, he said, okay, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to rearrange this. And then before they announced John Lennon, he was able to just basically reveal John Lennon. That right there is already indicators that he's forcing the people. Now, obviously, we don't know. It could be a trick book. It could be something, but he's going to have to force it somehow, whether that, you know, that is forcing the page or whether it's a trick book. You know, we don't know what's going on. You know, the book that he had, you know, with the bookmark going in, that could have been a trick book right there. You know, another thing that you want to take into account is that the books that the judges themselves had, that could have been fake, right? There could have been something there. You know, obviously it's harder to pull off, you know, sort of a trick book, even though there's so many of them out there. It's so hard to pull those off, especially when you give it to the spectator to use. So there's so many, like I said, so many options here. But at the end of the day, he's going to force the card with the quote on it, right, with Simon. Once again, all he's going to do is just have him say stop. He's going to cut. He's basically going to give him the card on the bottom half, and right there, that's your card force. And then he's going to have to force the name Gandhi, and he's going to have to force the name John Lennon. And however he's going to do that with the book, whether it's a page of all Gandhi quotes, or whether it's a page of random people plus Gandhi, and the only person that the judge is going to recognize is Gandhi, that's how it's going to be. So he has so many different possible ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, it's just simply a card force, and it's just simply a name force. So that's basically it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure you guys enter the giveaway. Anyway, this Card Shuffler 99. Peace out.